radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Oh, did I just do the whole show, Lopaka, without video? Did you hear me? Did you hear everything that I just said?
No.
Yeah, exactly. I had myself muted, and it was the best intro ever. It was the best intro ever. And I went through, I was telling everybody about my air conditioner, and my heating went out and it's cold, and it's a Krampus kind of night around here. It's the holidays. I went through the whole thing, I had the whole studio muted. Well, you know what? There you go. So let me go through. Let me just say this really quick. Again, Lopaka is a native Hawaiian storyteller. He's an author. He's an actor. Kumu, hula, cultural practitioner, former professional wrestler. We'll be talking about that. Husband, father, and he's a grandpa. He gave me the warning before the show. I've got grandkids running around the house. So if you hear a little something, that's what's going on. So it's Christmas. That's going to be a lot of fun. He's sometimes known as the ghost guy. Lopaka makes his business of leading guests into some of the darkest, spookiest places on the island of Oahu. Now, wait a minute. I thought, aside from the Brady Bunch, right? I thought Hawaii is supposed to be, fun. There's scary places on your island of Oahu.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's scary places in all 8 islands, but the thing is, in the past few years, a lot of visitors have come here not looking for the luau experience, the tour experience. They want something real and visceral, the things that locals do. And one of those things happens to be seeing ghosts and spirits in the islands.
And the grandkids are having fun tonight.
Oh man.
I love it. I love it. Krampus. See, that's where you hold up the Krampus Christmas card right now and go, see, you see this? That's the warning. You get the first time guest disclaimer. So let's get that out of the way, Lopaka, which is, it's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends. And where that conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends. But we're going to end as friends. There you go. But yeah, that's a 10 years I've been doing the first time guest disclaimer. And once in a while, maybe a few times over 10 years, I have forgot. And then I've got to deal with the email. Dude, you can't forget that. I'll tell you something really funny. I just got back from Peru, and we were at one of the ancient sites down there, and we're walking around, and somebody sees something on the ground, and it was pretty cool. And it was like a little carved rock, right? And this person picks it up and shows it to me and goes, "Oh man, I wonder if I can get this through customs." And I go, "Dude, have you seen the Brady Bunch? Have you even seen that show? Put that back down." And it's really a funny thing how that episode of Brady Bunch has become a part of pop culture and what Hawaii is about, and to respect where you visit. And my friend in Peru put that right back on the ground because of the Brady Bunch. It was really funny. Now we're going to get to Hawaii in the next half of the show. We're going to start with Krampus tonight, and Krampus. I'm very excited about this, but there's 2 versions of Krampus. Krampus is becoming a pop culture phenomenon, right? And it's a modern take on it, and I get the reasons why. But culturally, the Krampus goes back hundreds of years, and there's a big section of the world and the United States and this audience that has never heard of Krampus. That's why the show is going to be so much fun tonight. So let's start there. When I ask you about Krampus, what pops in your head first before we go back and actually talk about the history of Krampus?
Well, see, in Hawaii, we had the plantation era where all these different ethnicities came from around the world to work at the sugar plantation. And so with that, we also had an influx of Dutch and German people. So all of us kids here in the islands grew up with, tales about Krampus. And if you didn't do A, B, and C, Krampus would show up at your house, take you away, and just completely ruin Christmas. And so that was the thing that parents would use to scare the hell out of us during Christmas. This Krampus person that was going to come and do these horrible things if you didn't pay attention.
And did that come with the stories and the images too as well? Did you get both?
We only got the images, so we never got the full story. Just the surface of it. What was going to happen if you didn't do A, B, and C. And funny, when the Krampus cards started to show up, there were already descriptions of what Krampus looked like. So once those old cards started to surface when I was like about 5 or 6 years old, it just made it worse for us during Christmas.
Times have really changed.
Yeah.
The way that Krampus, the images, and I've got some really old historical stuff tonight that we're going to go through, and I have some modern takes of it too, of Krampus. But it is the most politically incorrect visuals that one can imagine.
Wow.
And and you look at today, it's like whoa. But it's part of history. Everybody just deal with it. You can't change history. But Krampus, the version of some of these images that we're going to show tonight, that version of Krampus, that wouldn't fly today. Does that version of Krampus still hold true in Hawaii?
Not today. My generation grew up knowing that, after all, it was just a thing to scare us. So Krampus is basically, used during Halloween. That's when it's a big thing. But like you were saying, a lot of it probably would not fly today.
Man, you look at this stuff, and these are Christmas cards. And well, not all the images I have of Christmas cards. There's a lot of Krampus Christmas cards out there. You can go look at them, signed, by your grandfather, and would arrive in the mail. It's absolutely incredible. But here's the part that I find fascinating, and I want you to take it a step further. That Krampus and Santa Claus, Krampus and Saint Nick, were partnered together. That's the crazy thing, that they would go in these celebrations, and how it was represented December 5th and December 6th through those parts of Eastern and into Western Europe too as well, and go and deal with the good kids and the bad kids. Saint Nick was the good kids, and Krampus dealt with the bad kids. Do I have that right?
Yeah. That's funny you say that, because I was actually starting to remember that, and you said it. So my parents were I was adopted by a Portuguese Catholic family, this Hawaiian kid. And so, Krampus was already in play back in the 60s and 70s. And that was the thing, if you were good, Santa Claus would, leave you what you needed or what you wanted. But if you were bad, Krampus would come in his place and just destroy all your presents. And if you were extra bad, he'd take you and no one would ever see you again.
The part that is he's been described as a demon, and that's the other part that is pretty frightening. His imaging, which we'll get to in just a second, is like your classic demon, right? Physically, top to bottom.
Yeah, the horns, the spiked tail, the tongue, the high cheekbones, the nose. Yeah, classic Christmas demon. That movie that came out, Black Christmas, years ago, that movie? So that just made it worse for us here in Hawaii.
the and the we're going to go through some images here. All of the most of them, I should say, Krampus is depicted with this grotesque tongue, right? And that's crazy. Horns, hooves, and carried chains. And it's like everything that you would want in an image to scare the crap out of kids, bad or good. It doesn't really matter. But that is exactly when we think of what a demon would look like. It would look like Krampus.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's the classic thing growing up. And some of these photographs, I believe, like this one, also has the Pope or Cardinal in it. So even that's sort of like mind blowing. That's your alternative right there. But in this one, it looks like they're in collusion together.
Like I said, they were paired up.
Yeah,
they were paired up, and in the celebrations. Okay, so it was December 5th and December 6th, right? So those were the 2 days leading up to Christmas where you're going to get dealt with with Saint Nick or Krampus.
Yeah.
And the other thing that Krampus had was birch twigs to beat the kids with. Again, completely politically incorrect, I would say.
Yeah, would not fly today. It's almost like Thor and Loki.
You're right, totally. Here, this is another Christmas card.
Yeah.
This is vintage, by the way, you can tell. And down at the bottom, now this is a very popular saying. Everybody can go and look at it. Gruss vom Krampus, which means greetings from Krampus. And this Gruss von Krampus, vom, is on all of the greeting cards. You're going to see it over and over again tonight. But here we go. We got the classic Krampus here in this vintage painting. And the other part, there's the birch twigs, is that he is sometimes depicted with a backpack to take the bad kids away to a very bad place. Some of the story is they actually use the word hell. The kids would be taken to hell.
There was an episode of that CW series, Supernatural, that featured Krampus doing exactly what we're talking about. Showing up, except the red suit is not red; it's an off red, and it's leather. So this is the perfect example of what my parents, painted for us as to what Krampus would look like.
And as a kid, how did you react to it? Did it do its job?
Oh, it was horrible. I was in tears. I was afraid that I would not wake up Christmas morning. Because outwardly I said to my parents I was good, but I knew there was some mischievous, stuff that I was up to. So you can only imagine what it does to you as a 6-7-year-old kid.
And your friends all the same?
Same thing. All my classmates were also my neighbors, so same worry, same fear.
And let's again, these are politically incorrect today, but this one again, I couldn't get a date on it. But this is Krampus spanking a little boy. There's a dog down here biting Krampus's leg down here at the bottom, right?
Right.
You can see the hooves. Again, horns. This Krampus has short horns, by the way. Krampus is depicted a lot with these big. We'll look at those images, but here we go. This is a Christmas card. It's crazy, isn't it?
Can you imagine getting that as a Christmas card? Knowing what you already know about Krampus, and there it is in your mailbox, or through a little slot in your front door.
and here, and think about the relative that sent it to you.
Yeah.
Right. Your grandmother. Right? Yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah.
Right? This is a good one. And signs it, love grandma, pops that thing in the mail. And that it was part of the culture that this was actually a Christmas card that you bought at the store and that would send to your grandkids or your nieces and nephews.
Yeah. Or if not your grandmother, your jerk uncle.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow. Look at that one. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. And is that a lederhosen?
Is that, yeah, it's almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that is lederhosen. Now, lederhosen on Krampus quite a bit. Well, Krampus. Let me pull this out really quick. Krampus. I think I have. I mean, it's all of those countries. Poland, Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, Germany, that whole area. I don't know about Russia proper, but that whole area in Romania, right? Tasmania, where's Dracula from? Transylvania. Those parts of Dutch, those parts of Europe. This is part of growing up, and the crazier part. I mean, what are the earliest historical appearances of Krampus?
For me, I can't answer that question. I can tell you the earliest of when we were told about it. We had a next door neighbor, and I think her name was Uma. And her two kids, one of them was named Kosh. They were like really rotten kids. And I remember her chasing them down the street, or they'd come, hide in the back of our washing machine. And Uma would be yelling at them about, Krampus coming to get them, and you better listen. And the second she would mention Krampus, they'd come running out, and then she'd, take the thing and, start whipping them in the butt. And it kind of looked like this thing he's holding right now.
The birch twigs.
Yeah.
And here he's got three bad kids. Always with the tongue.
Yeah.
And the chains. Wow.
Yeah. Any idea what the chains mean? The chains
well, yeah, it was obviously to chain the kids up. I mean, that's what they're there for. Also, I would think they're noisy. So you would hear Krampus coming, right? Clank, 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 and he would shake those chains.
As opposed to the jingling bells of Saint Nick.
Yeah, right.
Oh, wow. This is
look at this. And again, this is undated. Most of these are from the 18th century, 1700s, 1800s, right in there. I've got specific dates on those, on ones that I will mention. This one, again, I've titled it Vintage because I couldn't nail a date down. But that is dark. And this Krampus doesn't have hooves. Oh, let me back up. This Krampus has one hoof and 1 foot. Some depictions of Krampus have 2 hooves. Others, the older that you go back, he's like this guy here. 1 hoof, 1 foot.
Mm.
Yeah.
But that face and that tongue, that looks like some of those Maori carvings, the Maori people, when they do the haka, that's the sort of face that they make. That's called a pukana. And it's to strike fear into the enemy. But look at that.
That is just...
Yeah.
It's just incorrect. And okay, this is in a museum. This is actually titled Unknown. Okay, so they don't have the name of the painter. This is in a Dutch museum. Look at these kids in the background.
Oh my God.
Right. Look at these two over here, and look, that's just frightening. The girl's crying. He's spanking the boy.
The girl trying to comfort that little boy. But, you know, it looks like she's saying, "Well, it's going to happen."
And the modern versions of Krampus. This is another Krampus card. This Krampus here, he's got two hooves. He's got a broom with the birch twigs. He's got his chain. He's got his backpack to carry the kids. But there it is, Gruss, Vom, Krampus, greetings from Krampus. And then he's got all the kids tied together in a line. Oh man. Love, signed Love Grandma, right there.
Yeah, it would not fly today.
It absolutely demonic.
Yeah, look at that.
One hoof, 1 foot. This guy doesn't have the backpack, but he's got the chains. And again, I think I'm glad you asked me that. What his wrists are chained, so I think for when he walks, it's to make noise. When I jumped into this was a few years ago. When I jumped into the history of Krampus, it goes back to around 600 AD. But the first historical stuff in print is around 1600. But when the 1600s rolled around, it was a lot of art, a lot of depictions, and the stories started to come out. But moving further back in time, it's around 600 AD where the oral traditions started. So this has been going on for almost 1500 years. And again, it's the tongue, right? The horns. And this guy's pulling on the kid's ears.
Now, I'll say, growing up, we certainly knew that, when you're not doing the thing that you're meant to do or supposed to do in your life, and you're screwing up royally. My mom used to say, the ancestors will come and they'll let you know you're screwing up because they'll pull your ear. And so that's not urban legend here in the islands. When you're messing up, the spirits come and they yank on that ear. Where you see the small hairs here, they'll grab that and yank on it. Try that. That hurts.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Here, yeah, this is an old. Again, this is an actual Christmas card. Krampus in a sleigh with the kids and taking them away with his birch rods. This guy's got 2 feet, but he's got horn toes, which is crazy. But again, that's I guess. Lopaka, that they had a Krampus section for Christmas cards.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, you know what I mean? You had your Krampus section at the store. You come in, you got the new Krampus cards in, you got some new ones. I do. The right.
And people see you at the checkout buying Krampus cards, they're probably looking at you going, oh.
Now this one is from 1700. That is the date on this one, 1700. This is a woodcut. Yeah, and this was a reprint. I jumped into this and looked at this historically. The woodcut is from 1700, and then it was reprinted into Christmas cards in 1911.
Yeah. See, Ramona, here in the chat, Ramona Kahikina says, "Who's the artist? I remember those Christmas cards." So, Ramona, I'm not alone in this thing.
No, what did you say to me earlier, Jimmy? Yeah, I remember this. I remember this. Yeah. Look at that.
It's a woodcut. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of craftsmanship and the detail. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and this one, and I remember this myself, and this is from 1900, and so before everybody goes, oh man, this is 1900. That's modern history. This is not, where. Is there any excuses? Here his chains are off, right?
Chains are off.
His chains are off. One hoof, 1 foot.
Yeah. The chains being off might symbolically represent that he's not bound by anything, as he's handling this boy child.
This is very famous. I've seen this over the years, and I know that you have too. But that's pretty frightening. And this is from 1896.
Wow.
1896. It almost looks like a photograph that was painted over.
Yeah.
Or the artist is really, really good. But
he's more human. Sort of. He's not got so much the demonic animal face.
Yeah, and still got the horn, still got the tongue. He's got the backpack. He's got a kid in the backpack. But look who's standing in the background.
Yeah.
So, is that a cardinal? Is that the Pope, or is that Saint Nick?
I think that's Saint Nick. But what's that movie? The baseball movie with the devil? I forget. But that's what this one looks like. This Krampus.
The baseball movie with the devil?
There was a baseball movie where the devil was trying to tempt a baseball player. It's one of those old movies. I think Jimmy Stewart was in it or somebody.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Somebody will pop that up in the chat room.
Yeah, but looks just like that guy. But look at it. The situation is still the same. They're scared. Oh.
Yeah. Well, look what's going on. Dad doesn't care. Yeah. Right? He's smoking his pipe. Mom is comforting this child that can't look. This is a little girl that's about to lose it. This is a boy pleading for his life, right? Please don't take me to hell. Yeah. He's got the look behind his back. He's holding the birch twigs. And man, that is just frightening. That's just like a bad day. That is a bad dream.
So
it's Pops here that kind of freaks me out.
Yeah. I mean, it's modern day. What year did you say this was?
This is 1896.
1896. And we don't
I didn't even see this little boy over here behind the chair. Check him out.
Yeah.
I just now noticed that.
That's the smart one.
Oh, man. I mean, we laugh, but and I'm live. It's just because times have changed.
Yeah, it looks like an updated Krampus, but still the same characteristic. All the stuff.
God, this would just never fly today. This one again, Lederhosen, right? Look, I don't know what this says right here, but I think what this says is "Have a Merry Christmas." Grandma Karen or something right here on the side. And so there it is, a signed Christmas card with the brother and sister in the back pleading. Oh, there's 3. There's another kid there.
Bruce von Krampus. Okay, got it. Look at it, man. Jeez. Very detailed, but very terrifying.
Yeah, here's that's the one. Okay. So now, I grabbed a few photos. There are so many Krampus celebrations that go on around the world, and I had actually read. I forget the country, but it was in 2013, and some people got injured. There were some depictions of Krampus spanking, kids. They were acting it out in this Krampus, the Krampus walk, and the crowd lost it, man. And 60 people went to the hospital. 60 Krampus in costumes.
Wow.
And but okay, so this is in Italy. This is a Krampus walk in Italy in 2016. You can see the crowd. There's a Krampus parade, and there you go. Now, that's the other thing. With the Krampus that you had when you were a kid, fur.
Yeah, but not to the degree of the fur in this photograph. It's like the other depictions where the fur is a little short, a lot more tight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But look at that, man. That's I get it. I get it. I totally get it. Dressing up like this and a Krampus, it's the other parts of Krampus that are way out of bounds today. Yeah. So you can look like Krampus, but you can't go around, acting like Krampus. You can't, you know what I mean? You can't do that. But I totally get the costuming here. I totally understand why people would do it. You can see everybody in the background lining the streets. I can't. This is in the town of, I think it's Seren, Seren, in Italy. I've got some more. Oh, here is, again, Gruss vom Krampus. This is just another. Oh, no, wait a minute. I think we already showed this one. Yeah, we saw that.
This is Germany, 2006.
Wow. That's intense. That's very uncomfortable. Yeah, you'd traumatize a little kid if they saw that. Oh, look at that. Eye slits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right there. Man, that is so that's Germany, 2006. This is right here in the United States. This is Dallas. This is the Dallas Krampus walk back in 2016. And he's got a St. Nick suit on.
Wow. I hope those horns are light. Otherwise, that's a pretty heavy headpiece. Oh,
okay.
wow.
Yeah. Now, this is Croatia. One of the founders of the Krampus legend and the Krampus stories. And this is the Croatia Krampus walk, one of the bigger ones in the world. And this is 2015.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. What do you let me pull this down. What do you make of the way that pop culture is embracing Krampus today? Where they're not necessarily understanding the legend and the history of Krampus, but they're just going with the imagery. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think it's mainly they're just going with the imagery because of, Hollywood and social media. Now the trend is, are all these Krampus stories, paranormal monster Christmas stories. So it's that part of it that everybody's embracing, and now making it part of not just pop culture, but maybe our everyday culture. And
right.
Yeah, even this past Halloween in Waikiki, on Halloween Eve, it's not just crowded; it's packed. So there are lots and lots of Krampus.
Yeah, so I took some notes today. Although Krampus appears in many variations, and I just write like I speak. So just most shared common physical characteristics. He's hairy. He's usually brown. He's got hooves, horns of a goat. He's got his tongue, His tongue is usually always out, and he has fangs. He carries chains, thought to symbolize the binding of the devil by the Christian church. He thrashes the chains for dramatic effect. The chains are sometimes accompanied with bells of various sizes, again, to warn children that he is coming close. Pagan origin is the root, a bundle of birch branches that it carries, which he swats children with. The root may have had significance in pre-Christian pagan initiation rites. The birch branches are replaced with a whip with some versions of Krampus. And I couldn't find any imagery of Krampus with whips, but there is that is out there too as well. Sometimes he's got a sack, sometimes he has a basket, sometimes he has a backpack strapped to his back. And now check this out. Now I got this from probably a half a dozen different sources today. So the backpack is to card off the evil children for drowning, for eating, or transport to hell. Some of the older versions make mention of naughty children being put in the bag and taken away. Again, Gruss vom Krampus is greetings from Krampus. And I got to tell you, most people, they don't understand. They think that Krampus is something else than it actually is. And I'm saying it, right? They don't. And when they find out and they see the imagery, it's like, holy crap, that's Krampus. That's what everybody's talking about. People just don't know. It's pretty fascinating how quickly we got amnesia, because this is and still is a pretty big deal in Europe.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you hear all the lore, you see all the postcards, the movies. But when you see something like that, that's actually visceral and in your face, it's a whole different experience.
Yeah, totally. And what about, I'm going to ask you directly. You've got grandkids walking around the house. Have you told them about Krampus?
No, I have not. But I believe my wife mentioned the idea, so I'm leaving it up to her.
No, you can't. You know what I mean? Times change.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, she lived for a little while in Germany, so that's why I'm going to leave it up to her.
Yeah, somebody just put old school Grimm's fairy tales weren't for wussies. And that, when we're talking about Krampus today, but if you really, and I'm going to say this, I was really freaked out with Hansel and Gretel. I didn't dig it. I didn't dig the story. I didn't even what's the porridge and Goldilocks. Goldilocks was not a fun story, and it freaked me out. But the story behind Hansel and Gretel, and having this told to us, and the books, and the old lady in the house and fattening up the kids for what? And I just remember being a little kid going, she was what was her plan?
Yeah.
Explain that to me again. What's really going on here?
Yeah. That sort of freaked us out in school too. Except when our teacher read it to us, it wasn't a witch or an old woman. It was the Baba Yaga.
Okay, so the Baba Yaga, which I didn't know. I kind of heard of the Baba Yaga, but I didn't understand anything about the Baba Yaga until I was an adult. Again, very similar to stories in Latin America, Central America, North America, with the indigenous cultures here. And I'm sure that you had a version of that over in Hawaii too as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Except it wasn't called a Baba Yaga. It according to the so we have a large Portuguese culture here too from the plantation era, and they called it the Feta. And so the Feta was sort of like a Baba Yaga, but she was also a matchmaker. But she could also place and remove curses. And she didn't take money, so you basically had to give her whatever she asked for. And as a kid, there was one that came to my house, and I remember she was like about 6'6", and just this big bone Portuguese woman, just walked straight, didn't hunch over, and just presence and struck fear into everybody.
Wait, what? What? She was a real person?
Yeah, she was a real person. Yeah.
Wait. Seriously. So, like a neighborhood, I'm going to use the word witch, right? But you just said she was a matchmaker, right? Yeah. Could perform spells and magic. She charged for it. And you're saying the one that would visit you and your house, did you say 6'6"?
The one that visited us, the one my parents always called on, she was a Portuguese woman, about 6'6", I remember. Very big boned. Always wore not so much black clothing, but dark colored clothing. And so when she came to see you, she didn't want money. Like she'd ask you for food, or she'd ask you for the last article of clothing you wore. And you give it to her, and she'd put it up to her face and smell it, and then she'd start telling you, what your problem was, how to solve it, if anyone was cursing you, stuff like that. And so I witnessed those things personally as a kid.
What?
Yeah.
And what were they called?
Feta.
I've never.
Yeah.
And she smell your clothing and then say, these are your issues.
Yep.
You know how freaky that sounds? That's crazy.
That is freaky. So, wash your clothes.
Yeah. I've got a joke there. I'm just going to leave it. I'm not. I was just going to say, after I travel for 3 weeks, I've got a suitcase that's pretty ripe. But do they still? Are they still around?
They're still around. Most of them now today are on the island of Maui or on the Big Island where the volcano is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm here to learn stuff. I've never heard of this. I don't want to say a whole lot. But this was about 25 years ago, maybe longer. And living in a back house of this house. And that there's a lot, well, it's all around the world, but here in LA, there's a lot of back houses. Property's expensive. So you have the big house in the front and a rental in the back. And in this back house, and there was a room in this back house. And then somebody says to me, the lady up front, she does stuff in that room. And I'm like, well, like what? Well, she's a fortune teller. She's a fortune teller. She's a what? So now, and the room was always closed. And one day I walked by it and it was open. Now, lots of pictures, lots of things. There was nothing really that caught my eye. There's some crucifixes and Jesus. I did see some of that. But there were, candles and things. Anyway, I moved. I moved. I was like, I'm not dead. I don't know what's going on. And for probably 6 months, Lopaka, I kind of noticed, but I wasn't really paying attention. But after I did know and I was paying attention, she was marching people in and out of there all day. She probably had a crystal ball, you know. I don't it I'm just telling you, I couldn't have that in my house. And that was it. That was it. I bailed.
I believe it.
I bailed. Okay, so where are we? We need to take a break, but before we get there, I wanted to ask you about some of the traditions that we're going to be discussing when we come back after the break. The world, Hawaii's all by itself out there. And you have to go. We were talking about this a little bit before the show. You have to want to go to Hawaii. You don't drive by Hawaii, right? You can drive by Las Vegas. You can drive by, but to go to Hawaii, you have to. That's a trip that you plan, whether it's by boat or by plane. But you don't just drive by Hawaii on your way to Japan. I don't know what the next stop is. What, Guam? I don't. But so we don't know a whole lot about Hawaii. Those traditions go back a long ways. And is there a spiritual connection that continues to this day? Do the traditions stay solid?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, when we get back, if you want to talk about the tradition of not taking lava rocks from a volcano, and what happens if you do, we could talk about that.
And also, and I don't know if I'm saying this right, the Menehune, how do you say it? Menehune?
Yeah, that's it.
Menehune. Who are that? We'll get into it much deeper when we get back. But who are they? And would you say mythological, or based on something that was actually real at one point?
Real, still today, not mythological. And there's some families that are around today that can claim lineage from the original Menehune.
Now, the Menehune are hobbits.
No.
Okay, what are they?
They're fully formed human beings who are like less than 4 feet tall.
Okay, that's what I meant. Short. When I said hobbit.
Say hobbit, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. My bad. So they're fully formed. They're just miniature versions of us.
They were a group of people who sailed from a land called Kanehunamoku. And so Kanehunamoku is the land of the gods. And so they immigrated to the island of Kauai. And some of them left because what happened is they began to marry into Hawaiian families. And so some of the Menehune were not happy about that. And so they just picked up and left and never came back.
Now, see, that's why you're on the show tonight, because in I was going to say Western, but for you, it would be Eastern cultures, right? Here in the States, the Menehune are mythological, but I'm looking at the chat room right here. No, they are real. They are real. They are real. So true. Yes, they are real. Very strange how things get twisted with the way that people are educated and the way that the stories break down. But the Menehune are an actual race. Yeah.
And it's because of a point in ancient times where Menehune began to marry into Hawaiian families. Hawaiian families now today have a genealogical connection to the Menehune. So a lot of Hawaiian families can claim them as their ancestors. And I know a couple of those people today.
Now, one of my moderators, his name is Bill, he says, Hawaiian legend has it that the Menehune are a small dwarf-like species, similar to pixies or trolls that hide deep in Hawaii's forests and valleys. See, that's like the Western version of the story and how twisted it gets.
Yeah. Only in your state.
Yeah. Let's talk more about it when we come back. Our guest tonight, Lopaka Kapanui. We'll be right back.
My job is not to preach. My job is to take you on this journey.
In a state of passion, nothing negative can happen.
That it's the moons of those planets that would have life.
Sometimes I see, these energies also in your field.
It is our passion and our pleasure.
Hi, everybody. Jimmy Church here. Very special announcement, and that is we are shipping Fade to Black T-shirts again. It's been almost 2 years. We did a full upgrade to the website, so you can head over to jimmychurchradio.com. It's all simple to do, and it's right there. Remember, we broadcast 4 nights a week, Monday through Thursday. We bring you the best, the brightest, the most knowledgeable and amazing guests, the best conversations. We do that 4 nights a week. We also do 4 days a week. We broadcast the news, and we do that live too as well. It's not a one-man show. I do it with website support. I do it with producers. I do it with writers and artists. All contribute to the show. The best way to help support what we do here is with the Fade to Black T-shirt. And you can get your Fade to Black T-shirt one of 2 ways. First, go to jimmychurchradio.com, order a shirt. It's really that simple. You're going to get a tracking number, it's going to get shipped, and it's going to get autographed. The second way to get a shirt is with a Game Changer membership. Now, the Game Changer membership not only includes a free T-shirt, but you get a private email to me. You get unlimited commercial-free downloads. You have full access to the website, and everything includes free shipping, and everything is autographed. So help support the show. Get your Fade to Black T-shirt today. The links are below. You can just go to jimmychurchradio.com, and it's right on the website. So there you go. I'm Jimmy Church, Fade to Black. I'm so excited that I just have one thing to say. Go Beckley Teppy. River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon Wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com. All right. Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, our guest, all the way from Hawaii, Lopaka Kapanui, live from Hawaii. And Lopaka, when did you find out that you could talk to spirits?
I was about 6 years old, and I had to have my kidneys cleaned out at the old children's hospital. And during the course of that time, there was this kid, 11-year-old kid, who snuck in remember you could carry bottles of Coca-Cola in that thing? There'd be 6 bottles in it.
Mm-hmm.
So he went downstairs and stole the 6-pack, and we went down these stairs at this exit, and we all, each had a bottle of Coke. So, Jimmy, this was back in the late 60s, early 70s when Coke was still a real thing. And because I had a kidney condition, that really messed me up. So I had to have an operation. And when I came out of it, I heard the doctor say to my mom, we lost him for almost a minute. And after that, I could see the spirits, I could hear them, I could talk to them. And I didn't understand what was going on until my mom realized that this is what was happening. And so she said, it's okay. You're not evil. You're not going to hell. The devil's not going to take you. She said, this is just part of who we are as Hawaiian people. But she said, because there's so many, overzealous religious people, she said, we have to be careful, about talking about it. And that's late 60s, early 70s. So, that made sense. But that's
describe it to me. How what did you see? What did you hear?
I could see people as plain as day, just like how I'm seeing you, except you're a bit fuzzy on the outline. So around you is, just the perimeter of your body as I'm looking at you now, your profile, from here up. If you're a spirit, you'd be fuzzy out on the outline.
Did that freak you out?
It didn't freak me out initially because I wasn't sure about, what was going on. And remember, I was sick, so I thought I was fuzzy from the medication. But what didn't dawn on me until much later on in my life is, when I would see these spirits and they talk to me, their mouth wasn't moving. And so later on, I meet a professor of parapsychology who helps me understand that that's, telepathic communication.
And what kind of things were being communicated?
Mainly about being lonely, specific family members, or not being able to reconcile where they were or understand where they were, why they were there, what was going on. But normally it's just asking, where's my mom? Where's my family? And so
does that tell you that they're lost and confused?
Lost and confused, or probably died, so suddenly that they don't even realize that they're dead, that they've passed.
That's one of the most frightening parts of this kind of communication that you hear about so often, the melancholy, part of it, and how sad that must be to be stuck somewhere and not know, right? It's just like you wake up and you're somewhere else and you don't know how you got there.
Yeah. And the other thing about that is some of them finally have an idea of what's going on. They finally realize, they've passed. And they also sort of realize there's a point they can't move beyond. But in addition to that, they're also aware of us living people. But more so, living people who have a certain level of, a psychic ability or psychic sensitivity. I'm talking about my own experience. I'm not saying this is the be all to end all. Just talking for myself, not as an expert. But in my personal life, when a spirit like that realizes that the living person can perceive them, that's when communication starts to happen. And people misunderstand it as, possession or an attachment, but it's just clear communication. So Jimmy, if you and I, rode for the same motorcycle club, and we're in a room full of Shriners, and we're the only two people there, and I see you on the other side of the room. The first thing I want to do is, get through this dissonance and communicate. And that's sort of, the way spirits work.
Do you ride?
I don't ride.
You look like you do, and the way that you mentioned that, I thought that you did. You look like you do.
Yeah, I have a feeling that in a past life I probably was.
Yeah. Okay, so moving. Oh man, that was. I almost took a turn into that direction, but how? Okay, I was going to jump into your culture and Hawaii in general and the talking to spirits. We'll get to that in a second, and how it's accepted. But did you start to practice? Is this a talent? I'm using the word talent. I don't have a better word for it. But is this something that you perfected and got really good at?
I'll say this, and I'll keep it short. There was a point that I had to come back home for 3 years. I was living in Orlando at the time, having the time of my life, and most of which I don't remember. But I know my mom called me, and she said, there's some things I want to pass on. Your siblings aren't interested. What are you doing? And I said, hey, I'm going out every night, and doing this and going to this place. And she said, okay. She goes, well, I love you. And she hung up the phone, and like not even a minute after she hung up, I just felt this knife in my heart. I'm like, oh man, something's up. So I called her. I said, Mom, what's going on? She said, no, there's these things I've learned. I want to pass it on, and your siblings aren't interested. And she said, I just thought if you had time, you'd like to learn it. And I asked her, I said, well, how long is it going to take? She said 3 years. Just 3 years of your life. I'm like, oh man. So short story, went back home. First night, first lesson, I'm sitting on the floor at her feet, literally. She's sitting on this rattan chair. And I got a notepad and I got a tape recorder. I'm looking at her, and she looks at these things in my head. She goes, what's that? I said, I'm going to record and I'm going to write some stuff down. She says, no, I talk, you listen, and you absorb everything. And she said, after the lessons are over, you give everything back to me. You tell me everything I said. And that's how it went. So some nights after like a 5-hour lesson, at the end, I'm tired, ready to go. And she goes, no. Like, now tell me everything I said. I'm like, oh my God. So the short story is, the last night of the last lesson, I showed up and sat down in front of her, and she said, tonight, she says, we're done. This is all, you've learned everything. And she said, all I'm going to tell you is everything you've learned up until now is not about you. And she said, and you're not going to understand until you're older. And I was young and stupid. I'm like, no, I get it. She goes, no, everything you know now is not about you, but later on you'll get it. And so went home. As soon as I got home, the phone rang. I answered it, and it was my sister. And my sister said, Mom just passed away.
Oh.
Yeah. And so the short story is, turns out Mom only had 3 years.
So the last lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is crazy. The last lesson was after that 3-year period that she told you about.
Yeah, which I thought was 3 years I'd learn and, go on with my life. But it turns out that she was told because of, it just never occurred to me, because she was going to not chemotherapy, the other one, dialysis. And she was doing good. And I had no idea. They told her, unless you keep up with this, you'll only have 3 years. And so as the dialysis went on, all of her friends that she'd made at the dialysis place, they all died one by one. And so she ended up being the last one left. And, it really, really broke her heart. And so, yeah, it was crazy. And so that's...
Did you know about that part of your mom and the oral traditions that she handed down to you? Did you know that she was taught these herself? I mean, you were growing up. Did you know about that side of her?
I had no idea until we sat down and she started to show me these things and tell me these things. And that's when it started to dawn on me. I'm like, wow, she really is passing on some stuff. So in answer to your question, one of the things is in some Hawaiian families, when they see a child is gifted or talented, like has an ability of a medium or precognition or clairvoyance, that child is always taken aside and specifically taught that arts of whatever gift they have. And what they're taught is a Hawaiian term called noho. So noho means to sit, and so basically you become the medium for the family. And what happens is your family gods and your spirits noho literally sit on your shoulders and communicate through you to your family. And so my mom's cousin Auntie Ella was one of those who could do that. And so again, because we're limited for time, basically this is what it is. It's basically channeling. So I do ghost tours. Some nights I don't remember doing the tour because something else is channeling. Also, when I'm writing my books, a lot of times I don't remember writing at least 20 pages. It's just right there. And so,
you can take all the time that you want. By the way, Lopaka, don't worry about that. This is very, very, very interesting. And the other part of this, did your mom use words like, because we understand what channels do today, but in the Hawaiian tradition, is channeling the right word? And did your mom explain it that way? Did she use the word channeling?
No, she used Hawaiian terms like noho. What I was going to say is I also do ghost storytelling concerts, like at big theaters, venues. And what happens a lot is in the audience are people's deceased relatives who decide they want to get up on stage and tell me in my ear, that's my granddaughter. Can you tell her? And so what happens is I gotta get on with this thing, and so I ignore them, and people's spirits end up hijacking the whole thing until I say something. So.
Well, that's kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
And does the audience know? They understand, right?
They understand, because I tell them ahead of time, like from the get-go, I'm like, here's what might happen. If it does, I'm probably going to address maybe two of you because I got to get on with this thing.
It's a crowded room, right?
Crowded room, crowded theater. I'm like, we're paying for the time, so. But
yeah, and it's full of spirits, right? And now I don't want to sound like really naive here, but this is how I'm picturing it. It's an opportunity. You're the medium, right? You're the vessel. You're the communication device. So the spirits know this. They're coming in with the audience knowing that they have an opportunity here to maybe knock on the door and speak out.
Yeah. And sometimes, to the whole theater, I have to turn to my left, and look off stage and tell these spirits, that's it. I got to get on with this. That's it. We're done. Last year, July, I did a ghost storytelling concert at a place called Hawai'i Theater. And one name kept coming through the whole night, and that was a woman named Irene Foster. And I asked 4 times, throughout the thing. And I said, so the last time I asked was the 4th time. I said, so again, Irene Foster. And this voice from the back of the theater goes, Irene Foster, I was her caregiver. And I couldn't see the guy because all the stage lights were shining this way. I said, she died of cancer. He goes, yes. I said, she's, telling me. And I told the guy, I said, she's telling me to tell you thank you because she didn't want to die alone, and nobody else wanted to be with her, none of her family or friends, and that you were the only one. And, the guy broke down crying, the entire house of people are freaked out. So, stuff like that.
And that is oddly specific.
Yeah.
Right. Irene Foster. And I don't want to go there. I don't want to offend anybody, but you know how it is when you hear somebody go, okay, somebody's coming to me. Do you know a John? Well, yeah, I know a John. Right? Right? Now, Irene Foster, now we're going somewhere.
Yeah. Ramona was there. She saw it.
Ramona? Oh, who is in the chat?
Yeah, Ramona Kahikina. She was there. She saw it.
Okay. And Ramona, what did you think? Let's see. There's like a 10-second delay.
Yeah.
I want Ramona's take on this too as well. That I just find that completely fascinating. Now, can you turn it on and off?
No.
So she's laughing. Ramona's laughing right now. Yeah, she says yes, it was real. Okay, wow. Well, I know it was real, Ramona. Yes, I get that part. I want to know what you thought. She says it's fun, right? Okay.
After Irene Foster, there was a David Ka'ulula'au. And so David Ka'ulula'au's grandson in the audience answered. And basically what it came down to was the grandfather telling David, stop doing this. And so this sort of looks like he goes around nudging people like this. But I talked to David Ka'ulula'au's grandson after, and I said, basically what your grandfather's saying is, you're too old now to live this way, and start living like this. Stop trying to be a tough guy because you've got a son, you've got kids, so start learning about aloha. And
did he listen? I mean, that would scare the crap out of me. That's kind of like, that's Krampus, right?
He cried because I was surprised. He was 3 times my height and size. Very scary guy, but he broke down crying. And from the stage, I remember asking David Ka'ulula'au's grandson, "Are you this kind of guy?" And his father answers, "Yes, he is." And the whole house breaks. They just laugh. But that was another one.
Now, okay, if you don't have a switch to turn it on and turn it off, is it like voices in your head like all the time? And again, I don't want to sound naive, but it seems like when I say crowded room, that would be a really crowded room.
Yeah. So basically what I do is I just have to straightforward, tell them, listen, I'm off the clock. I'm home. I got to spend time with my wife and kids, my grandkids. So, just give it a break. I'll be back tomorrow.
Wow. And culturally, we started to talk about this earlier. I'll give you an example, and I actually do want to talk about UFOs and aliens in Hawaii for a second too as well. I don't want that to get away from us. But culturally today, you can, over here, I should say, on this side of the water, you could talk about ghosts. There's nothing but paranormal television on 24 hours a day. You can talk about UFOs. Yeah. There are things now that used to be quite taboo that are very, very normal. And it has become part of our culture and certainly pop culture. But what is the Hawaiian version of that? Is this culturally accepted?
In some circles, it's not accepted at all, culture or not. And that's understandable. People are allowed to believe in what they believe in. And most parts, of daily life in the islands is everybody accepts that spirits are also there. Everybody knows about it. Everybody talks about it. Not everybody's a practitioner or paranormal investigator, but they have the basic knowledge of ghosts and spirits in the islands. And then there's the other groups that, like the ones on TV that just to the extreme, just trying to saturate the whole thing. I get calls from groups like that sometimes 2-3 o'clock in the morning, hey, we're at a graveyard, in Manoa, and we're in trouble. Can you come help us? I'm like, what are you doing there in the first place at 4:00 in the morning? There's a sign that says no trespassing. Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't do graveyards.
Yeah.
I'll do a funeral. Okay, that's an obligation. That's family. That's love. That's respect. But I don't do it for entertainment. I mean, what are you doing in a graveyard at 4 a.m.? You are going to have to call a specialist.
Yes.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. You had mentioned earlier, I brought up the Brady Bunch, but you also mentioned taking rocks from a volcano. And I can imagine what the tourists do, right?
Well, see, the thing with the Brady Bunch, about finding that ki'i, that tiki image, and all those things happening, it's another thing my mother told me. One night she said, if I ever see you wearing one of those ki'i, tiki, around your neck, with the jeweled eyes, and she took out this wooden spoon that she used to mix the beef stew with. She says, you're going to get this across your head. And I said, what are you so worked up about? And she said, these ki'i images, tiki, she said, those were mainly used in temples of human sacrifice. And those things were, ho'omana, they were deified. And so you prayed to it and you fed it. And she says, today, because we don't do that anymore, and a lot was lost as to how those things are done, she said, if you don't know what you're doing and you start feeding one of these things, you're trying to copy the old days. She said, the second you don't feed it anything, she said, it will feed on you. And so she said to me, that's one thing we don't do, because we don't understand, what that was all about. And then she referenced the Brady Bunch episode. She said, in that episode, she goes, I know it's TV, but she said they got off easy. Falling off the surfboard, all those accidents. She said, that's easy. She goes, that's like this. She said, real life, they would have been dead in 3 days.
So I believe it. I believe it, right? And when I come to Hawaii, make sure I don't buy. Right. Right.
Don't go to the ABC store and buy one of those tiki images and wear it around your neck.
Let's get back to the volcanoes and the rocks.
So the goddess Pele, in her story, comes from a place called Moa'ulanui'akea, or the Society Islands, what we know today as Tahiti, or what we call Kahiki. And so in our language, Kahiki also means the far off place. So she could have come from anywhere. But all the accounts say that she was a brown Polynesian woman with red hair. The island she lives on, one side of the island belongs to her, and her uncle Lonomakua, the god who stokes the volcanic fires, is teaching her how to do that. The other side of the island belongs to her older sister, Namako Kaha'i, the goddess of the ocean. And so one day the uncle says, I got to go do some errands. So while I'm gone, don't do anything. Of course, while he's gone, she starts stoking the fires and burns down her sister's side of the island and everybody with it. Now, that's already bad because she and her sister have sort of reconciled after she slept with her older sister's husband. And so now that this has happened, she goes to her mom and she says, Mom, she goes, I swear I didn't mean to, but I sort of got carried away. I should have listened to my uncle, but I burned down my sister's side of the island. And her mother says, oh, away, alas. She said, you have to leave. You have to escape, because when your sister finds out, there's no way I can help you. She's going to kill you. So on this great double hull canoe with her family, Pele leaves the Society Islands, and the canoe is guided by her eldest brother, Kamohali'i, the king of sharks. And so on their pursuit to the fabled homeland in the north, the goddess of the ocean is chasing her sister. And so Pele comes down the island chain from Kauai, and every island she stops at, she digs a volcano for her family. And her sister, the sea goddess, comes and just peels out the fires. She finally makes her stand on the island of Maui at a place called Ka'iwio Pele, the bones of Pele. And so she fights valiantly, ferociously. but the sister also has two mo'o, or what you would call dragons, who assist her, and Namako Kahai ends up killing Pele. And so her bones are spread over this part of Maui. And according to one story, Pele's family takes those bones and they deify them. They ho'omana the bones. They transfigure her into this Aumakua, this guardian spirit, the goddess of the volcano. And so when Namako Kahai looks toward the Big Island, there's just this flume of lava, just right up to the sky, right up to the atmosphere. And Namako Kahai realizes, well, there's nothing that she can do to overpower her sister now. And so a lot of local people, a lot of Hawaiians believe that all those volcanic rocks at the volcano today are like the kino lau, or the embodiment of the goddess Pele. And so you're not supposed to take those lava rocks. So there's loads and loads of stories of people at the Volcano National Park, at the post office, seeing tons and tons of boxes with rocks in it with notes that say, please take it back. You know,
here it is, right here, right in the chat room, as you said. Yeah. I live in Maui. The last time I was at the post office, there was a park ranger picking up a box of rocks sent back by tourists.
Yeah. And I've seen the notes in those boxes, you know, I'm so sorry, please give this back to the volcano goddess. I got home, my business partner stabbed me in the back, my wife left me, you know, all those things. So here's the thing that nobody knows. You can actually take rocks from the volcano. You just have to ask. That's all you have to do. And I always tell people, you know, if I wasn't from here and I didn't understand what was going on, you know, I would think it was just far-fetched or like a fable or fairy tale. Asking permission in our culture is a very, very big thing. You ask, and then you announce your intentions, and then you say why you're taking it. And in some instances, you have to talk about who you are, your parents are, your grandparents, and, you know, go all the way back. You do all those things, you can take the rock. And so in 1991, we were doing a theatrical production about, you know, the story of Pele. And as part of that theatrical production, we had to go to the volcano. And this was July 1991. And as we're walking out to the volcano, there's a tourist family, there's a van, and the wife and kids are yelling at the dad, no, the park ranger just said don't take the rocks. And the dad is like, that's just stupid. It's just rocks. He's chunking them in the van like this. And they leave, and we go do our thing, and we come back. We leave Volcanoes National Park, and about 10 miles down the road, like across the road in this angle, there's the van with the tree that fell right on top of it, like right on the where the engine is. And the family's outside, and they're just shell-shocked. You know, they don't know what to do.
And Dad took the rocks out of the back of the van, right? I mean,
Dad, yeah.
It's I travel a lot, and I'll give you I just mentioned Peru, but we were there's this island in the middle of the Nile River in Egypt. It's called Elephantine Island. Beautiful. Oh man, just megalithic and tombs and just all kinds of crazy stuff. But one of the things about this island is its pottery. Okay. So you're walking around the top of this island and you are literally walking on pottery shards. You can look down and you can see it. And you can pick some has painting on it, right? And leave it. And I told everybody there, and I could see the temptation on people when you pick up a chunk of this pottery. Lord knows how old it is, but the temptation to take you don't do it. You don't. You just show respect. And even then, I don't know about asking permission. It's just like it just feels wrong to me. And you're literally, Lopaka, you're walking on shards. You don't have to look for it. You're walking on it. You just have to. I took so many photographs of my feet to show people what I'm walking on. It was absolutely incredible to see, but you respect it, right? You leave it. You don't take it.
Well, here's some lava rocks that were given to us to take back to the volcano. So, we're going to the Big Island soon, so these are going to go with us, and we'll take them back.
Now, what? Okay, Joe versus the volcano.
Yeah. So
right?
we don't throw virgins in the volcano. We've never done
that. Well, it's never happened.
Never happened. No.
So that was just Hollywood.
That was Hollywood. This movie called Bird of Paradise.
Yep.
Remember that movie?
Mm-hmm.
Louis Jourdan, I think Jeff Chandler, Deborah Paget, who had to jump in the volcano at the end. Yeah, we've never done that. We never offered women as sacrificial victims in our culture because women were not considered good enough. I mean, we kill them if they break the law or the couple, but never as sacrifice because it's a male-dominated society. The primary gods are male. And so women couldn't do certain things. They couldn't go certain places. They couldn't eat certain foods. Women couldn't even cook. Only men cooked. And so if you understand that, then you'll realize that only men can be sacrificed. And the humane way to prepare the man to be sacrificed during those days was either drowning or strangling. Because in the most important ceremonies to the gods, when they lay the body on the altar, there can be no blood. Which is why women were never offered.
You're saying only men could be sacrificed.
Only men.
And that was practiced.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, not to make light of Joe versus the volcano, Joe was a guy. That was Tom Hanks.
That was Tom Hanks.
So it was kind of based in reality then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That wasn't the answer that I was expecting. And when you take, what's your favorite? I've got like 5 questions that are on the backside of this. What's your favorite site to take people to?
The back gates of the palace. So in downtown Honolulu is the only palace in the United States, the Iolani Palace. And I like taking people to the back gate because we talk about all the mysteries of the palace, the history of what it was before. And we also talk about how, before the thing is over, how a woman can find out if her husband or boyfriend is cheating. That's the fun part. I can't give that away. I'm sorry.
Explain.
How to explain it without giving it away? There's a location on the grounds of the palace where you have to convince your boyfriend or husband, if you think he's being unfaithful, to be and stand there for 2 hours between 4 and 6 in the morning. And that's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
What I'll say is when you go back for him at 6 o'clock, if he's still there, you got a winner. If not, it's time to move on. The funny thing about it is it's not an urban legend. And it's not this sweet little story. There's actually something to it.
Now, how accurate?
100%.
Pretty accurate? 100%.
According to one of my students who's a medical examiner,
right?
According to my friends who are active and retired police detectives, yeah.
You've got a winner after 2 hours. Susan just said she was married at the King statue there. Congratulations, Susan. You have pictures? I bet it was a beautiful ceremony. I bet it was too. Okay. if that is the case, and not to bring up the Brady Bunch again, but when you take people around, you're also connected to the spirits. You're channeling. Do strange things happen too as well on your tours?
A lot of it depends on the kind of people who show up. So it's the people's collective energy that determines what happens or what doesn't happen. And sometimes nothing the whole night, which is good. And then other times, everybody's deceased relative is coming through one by one. You shouldn't have given away that recipe. You're dying of cancer, but stop crying about it. It's just cancer. Stuff like that.
What's the scariest thing that has happened?
One night, I think it was 2001. There's a place we don't go to anymore. It's called Morgan's Corner. And
can we talk about more? Okay. Stop. What? I just interrupted you. I wanted to talk about Morgan's Corner. Some know about it's a very famous. Let's just say story. It's a real event. Do you want to tell your story first, or should we tell everybody what Morgan's Corner is and jump into that?
Yeah, do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Morgan's Corner is the site of a very gruesome murder. And it happened when? 1940. I'm asking you.
Oh. I want to say 1943, but I'm probably wrong.
Yeah, I'm feeling 42.
Yeah.
Okay, so 42, 43. A woman was killed. What happened?
So, Mrs. Therese Wilder was at home, and these two escapees from the prisoner broke into her house because they'd heard a rumor that, there's some money there. And so they tied her to a chair. And you know how when you stuff like a cloth in somebody's mouth to keep them shut from talking? Well, too much cloth and shoved it too way far down her throat, so she ended up dying of strangulation or choking. Morgan's Corner itself is a place that's not too far from where I live, so it's a hairpin turn, and it's where Dr. James Morgan used to live, and he was a doctor. And so a lot of times Dr. Morgan had to walk down the hill to go to Therese Wilder's house to, administer care. So that's why I got the name Morgan's Corner, because of that hairpin turn. And a lot of kids would get into accidents, so there was that too. Why Morgan's Corner is infamous here is because it's that famous urban legend that's in every state in the United States about the boy and the girl parked in the car late at night. And when they go to leave, the car won't start. So the boy says, "You stay here, I'll go get help." And while the girl's waiting, she hears, tap, tap, tap on the roof, and then a scratching noise. And she falls asleep, and she wakes up, and it's the police knocking on her window, and they take her out, and she says, "Where's my boyfriend?" They say, "Please just come to the car." And when she's going into the car, she turns around, and there he is. His feet are tied to the branch above the car, and the body swinging back and forth. So the scratching noise is his fingers. The tapping noise, the blood, from his slit throat. So that's a legend of Morgan's Corner. But here, everybody up until October, from the time I took over the tours from my boss in 1999, have always asked me, did anyone ever find out who murdered that boy while the girlfriend was sleeping in the car? And so finally this October, I said to a crowd of people, I said, "Haven't you guys figured it out? It's obvious who did it." And they're looking at me for like 15 minutes. They can't figure it out. I said, "It was the girl. The girl did it. She's the only person there. She's the only witness. She did it." Why? Because of infidelity. Not only was the guy a jerk and treating her like what, but he was also fooling around, and a woman can take only so much. And so the girl did it.
Yeah, that's it. So, in this particular case, the two escaped convicts. This is actual history.
Yeah,
they did escape from the prison. They did strangle her, choked her, They chained her up, I mean, it was a gruesome murder, and that actually happened.
Yeah.
And so tying that into, Dr. Morgan and the corner, and it's a deadly corner in this, that's the part about Morgan's corner that has always fascinated me, because the case itself is real. This is an urban legend, right?
Yeah. So the murderers were James Majors and
Right.
John Polakiko. Right. So the corner itself, the location is Nu'uanu Valley Drive. And so up until 1997, the old Wilder house was still there and had the red brick chimney. And so when they were finally going to, break it down and make this now private gated community, one of the contractors called my boss. My boss is the late Glenn Grant. He started the first ghost tours here in 1974, technically. And so he was a professor of American history at the university, but he'd come from Culver City. And his dad was one of the guys who helped invent Robbie the Robot for like Lost in Space and all those other shows. What was I saying? I got lost.
The scariest thing that ever happened.
Well, yeah, I'll get to that. The contractor told my boss, he showed up, drove his Ford Bronco up to the red brick chimney, and he told my boss it's about 10 after 11 in the morning. And he said manifesting out of that red brick chimney was the spirit of Therese Wilder.
Oh. And
it walked right through the hood of his car, right up to the windshield. And he took off running down the road, found the payphone, called the people and said, I'm not doing this work. Like, I'm not going to contract. So you guys figure it out. The scariest thing that ever happened, we had 40 people walking up the Morgan's Corner. And people are pointing up the road because you can see, looks like orange lights up against the foliage. And it turns out it's torch lights, and everybody's screaming, "Night marchers, night marchers." So the reason why it's scary is because I have to get all 40 people back to the bus in one piece without them running each other over, number one. Number two, I have to be the last person on the bus because I'm the one that's responsible for them, so I can't go on first. Number three, as we're running down the road toward the bus, the driver's sleeping like this, and he hears this noise, and he looks up, and his face goes like this. He starts the bus and throws it in reverse, and now he's reversing down the road without us. We're chasing the bus. So I have to outrun 40 people, get on the bus, scream at this guy to stop. And so finally, he stops, everybody gets on the bus, and, he does a U-turn and we're off. But it was the most horrific 20 minutes of my life.
What are torch walkers?
Night marchers.
Are night marchers are torch walkers, night marchers. What's a night marcher?
Night marchers are the spirits of warrior chiefs who in life had to walk in front of another chief or an elite that was so high ranking that they were considered gods. So when these people were around, you couldn't look at them. You literally had to lie face down, hands behind the back of your head like this, and you couldn't look at them. And you couldn't wear any clothes. So that was not for salacious means. It's because of the kind of rank that they hold. So even if you're doing what you're supposed to do and they walk by and the shadow, the moon casts the shadow of them on you, you're dead. And so to spare the common people, these kinds of chiefs only would come out at night. And at night, you could see the long line of torch lights. You hear the drums, the conch shells, the chanting. And those are all warnings and signs for us not to be in this place by the time the procession is arriving. So they march from mountain to ocean. And today, no matter how the geography of the land has changed, the lay of the land, the path is still the path. So in downtown Honolulu, the First Hawaiian Bank building, there's a night marcher procession that goes to the 22nd floor of this law office. So they go through military installations, shopping malls, sprawling neighborhoods, schools, hotels. So the path is still the path. So whatever is sitting on the path today gets marched right through or right on top of. And so there's countless amounts of eyewitness documentation of night marchers. So this is why in Hawaii, night marchers are not considered an urban legend. They're more like cognitive spirits that are aware they're dead, can't move beyond. But the difference is they can also physically interact.
Move stuff. Physically, they're seen as well. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk about UFOs for a second, if I can.
Yeah.
Today, although there's physical craft, all kinds of things are visiting this planet for sure. But a very common thing for people to see, including myself, I've seen hundreds, are orbs. Whether they're ground level, they're up in the sky, different colors, orange, blue, purple, green, and moving around. And I don't know necessarily what's going on. I don't know if they're interdimensional, could even be spiritual, could be ET. Don't know, but the phenomenon is real. That's today. I can go outside tonight and see something.
Yeah.
But this has been going on in Hawaii forever.
Yeah.
And I remember watching videos of, it's probably 20, 25 years ago, of this person would go on Oahu, would sit on this cliff in this valley between these two and watch these orbs cruise through the valley. And he would videotape, and it was the most fascinating thing to see. And I forget what he called them, but nonetheless, he would go out and sit on this cliff just to see the action. And this has been going on for a long time. Out here, we call them UFOs. What are you guys seeing, and what do you call it in Hawaii?
Well, see, the thing is, UFO societies claimed orbs before paranormal societies showed up like they do now. So they've been around. In Hawaii, people confuse orbs with what we call akualele. And so akualele are orbs of fire with a long tail at the end. They're either red, they're either green or blue. And akualele are normally sent as a curse to kill somebody. So at the head of this flaming orb of fire, you can see faces, or you can see a bundle, and it has this loud buzzing sound. And so those things are sent to people to do them in, basically. And those have been here like forever, and they still exist. What I think will surprise you, Jimmy, is that in the last 5 years, there's been a huge uptick in UFO sightings in the islands. And I personally believe UFOs have been here throughout our history because, of the volcanic activity. And because we're an island of, electromagnetic fields because of the volcano, we also have what we call puka, or openings, or portals. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. Time slips. So there's also that stuff. Orbs themselves are what my Japanese neighbor, Mr. Tanaka, used to call hitodama. And so those things were around his house all the time. You could see them. I can't speak for every single Hawaiian person. I can only speak for myself and the people I knew. But my neighbors who saw these things too would say that there were spirits trying to manifest. I remember them telling us as kids, my neighbors, that sometimes they need heat to fully manifest. So they said if there's not enough heat in the air, they say they can only appear as these, what we call now orbs with tails at the end.
And what is the attraction? I understand the volcano. No, I don't understand the volcano thing. I almost said the wrong thing. I see the volcano connection all the time. I don't understand the volcano connection. And it's Mexico, it's Europe, right? It's Hawaii, it's Japan. There, anywhere where there's a volcano, there seems to be something entering and exiting the volcano. And it doesn't necessarily have to be erupting, does it?
No, not necessarily. Jimmy, you'd have to come here, and I'd have to take you and show you in person.
I cannot wait until I get out there. I was telling Lopaka before the show, you're my guide. Yeah. I can't. When I go to different countries, I have somebody there that lives there that can take me and show me and teach me. Right? I don't want to be the tourist that goes, "Hey, let's go and rent, motorcycles, or let's go rent surfboards. Let's go windsurfing." No, let's go. I want to learn and I want to see things. And yeah, you are definitely going to take me around the islands. I cannot wait to get out there. Where can everybody reach out to you if they get over to Hawaii and go on one of your tours?
That's mysteries-of-hawaii.com. Otherwise, Mysteries of Hawaii on Instagram, and Mysteries of Honolulu on Facebook.
How often do you do tours?
Every night, except for Tuesday.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you serious? Why do you think? I know this sounds like a very generic question, but it's an honest one. What is it about the fascination of the paranormal and the supernatural now? It's not only the TV shows, but it is the ghost tours and it is ghost hunting. Something's happened. And if you're doing this every night, people are seeking you out, and they're doing this all around the world. What's changed with society that we have this fascination now?
A lot of people see all those reality shows on TV, so they want that jump scare experience, and that's about this percentage of people who come. The larger percentage also want an understanding of what ghosts and spirits are, why they're here. Why they're trying to communicate to us. And a lot of people who come on this thing end up finding out a lot about themselves. And it's hard to explain. You have to come. And that's because their deceased relatives show up. And things happen. What I also do is ask everybody in the group, what do you do? What's your job? I'm trying to create some commonality so everybody, there's we're now this tight group. And what's also funny is at the beginning, I tell everybody, I'm not here for tips. I tell them honestly, you already paid for this thing. I don't want your money. But what I do tell them is, this may not make sense to you now, but I tell them at the end of this thing, when it's over, what I really want from all of you is your love. Because we're going to do something at the end, as sort of like a blessing and cleansing, so that everybody goes home in one piece. No attachments, spiritual or otherwise. And I say to them, that's why I need your love, but you'll understand at the end.
I love that part of it, and I host tours, all around the world and across the United States. And when I do these, what I am fascinated with, it's exactly what you're saying. You have 40, you have 80 people, one bus, two buses, and you get to know everybody. And I do the same thing. I want to know where they're from, what they do, so. And it's not a general type of person that goes on these tours. You have doctors and lawyers and surgeons and firefighters and teachers and gardeners and painters and music. It's everybody's got a general interest in this. And in the end, you would never think that this mix of people would become family. But that's what happens.
That's exactly what it is. For the hour and a half, 2 hours that I got you, that's my goal.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I love that. I look forward to heading over and hanging out with you. What a great conversation tonight. Oh, I wanted to ask you really quick. Is there a place? You're a big guy, right? Professional wrestler. Love the tats. You got some image. You got the goat. You got all that. Is there a place that you won't go?
I will not go to any heiau. I will not go to any temples. And I will not go to places where murders have happened, even though it's infested with spirits. I won't go to those places, especially if their family members are still around. I feel that's disrespectful. So there's in that aspect, there's a line I have to draw.
Yeah, and do you yourself? I know about Morgan's Corner, but do you get scared and don't admit it?
I do get scared, but I have to put it aside because I've got 40.
You got to. You can't. Yeah. I mean, right? It's.
But I guarantee you, there's going to be a time coming up sooner than later where I'll be caught off guard and I'll scream like a girl.
I can't wait to get over there. Lopaka, thank you so much, man. And I look forward to our next conversation on the show. Just an absolute perfect evening for me. I learned so much, and that's exactly why I do this. Thank you so much. And thank you for what you do, man. I'm serious. Thank you so much. Happy holidays. Behave and be well.
Aloha.
The absolute best. That's a perfect show right there. And Mysteries of Hawaii, that's with 2 dashes, .com. Mysteriesofhawaii.com. The links for everything are below. Thank you, Lopaka. That was a perfect show. Man, I learned so much tonight. And as I get out of here, what am I doing tomorrow night? Does anybody know? Anybody know tomorrow night? Oh, yeah, Stephen Bassett is here from PRG. We're going to take a look at 2023 disclosure, what happened, and we're going to look forward into 2024. All of that tomorrow night with Stephen Bassett. So you're not going to want to miss that. All right. So where am I? Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Jonocide. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and this broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2023 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Until tomorrow night with Stephen Bassett, I want you to be safe. Go Beckley Tappy.